It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was an age of wisdom. It was an age of foolishness. It's the season of fresh, hot beers, but it's also pumpkin spice season. Anyway, these are two really good fresh hop beers this year in 2020. This is Fremont Brewing out of Seattle, their Field to Ferment, and Sawtooth Brewery in Haley, Idaho, No Friends on a Fresh Hop Day. As someone who snowboards, I love the titles or the names of the beers that they come up with at Sawtooth, not just because I work there, but if you don't ski and snowboard, there's a saying that's no friends on a fresh powder day, because you don't want to, it's so good you just don't want to share the powder. And so that was hilarious. But anyway, I've had both of these beers before, so this isn't like first impressions or anything. This is just a couple interesting takes on what a fresh hop beer is. And these beers are very different. The Field to Ferment is a pale ale at, I believe it's 6%. That was on the carton. Yeah, 6% alcohol by volume. No Friends is also 6%. Neither of them have calculated IBUs on them because the analysis wasn't done on the hops, but these two are very, very different. I know a little bit more about this because I actually got to help make it, but there's a guy that coordinates the Wood River Valley Craft Beer group on Facebook, and he recommended this to me, and it's tasty. And so I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I did not pour careful, but part of that's because I like a little less carbonation when I'm actually drinking it, but pours a beautiful golden color. I'm gonna say that's probably chill haze, or maybe just condensation on the glass, because it poured clear until the very end. Maybe there's a little bit of yeast in the can, but like there was not a clam in the end of it. So in the aroma, if you've ever had the little tiny oranges, I don't particularly care for them. Like I don't think they're mandarin oranges, but the aroma coming off of it is like the peel of that. Yep. Okay. I'm getting the same flavors that I got the last time I tasted it. And I was confused the first time I had this beer because the first impression that jumped to mind was celery, but like I knew that celery wasn't correct. Like there's just something about the flavor that clicked and made my brain go down that vegetal path, because like it's not unpleasant, it's not overpowering, it's not any of those things. It was just very vegetal. But once I sat and thought about it, it's more like, most people probably haven't done this, but if you've eaten just the white pith, that like if you're peeling an orange fast and it leaves like that tender inner layer of the pith, and then you pull that off and eat it, it still tastes very orangey, but there's also a little bit more bitterness to it. And that's what I'm getting with this. And then as that pith flavor, it almost intensifies into like those little cutie oranges. Like, yeah, that's the only word I can, or name I'm thinking of for those, is those little oranges that come in the box and stuff. So, like I said, I don't eat them all, but pith, orange, and then it just kind of mellows out into a nice, smooth, malty, like, if you make toast with like really good white bread, but you stop it right before it actually turns golden brown, so like the surface of the bread is dry and almost crunchy, but like it's that color or that flavor of sweetness. It's not, it hasn't gone all the way into like golden brown toast, but it's just kind of right at that just slightly almost toasted bread sweetness. And when I first tasted this, I was wondering if that note that I'm interpreting is very vegetal. I've heard people talk about fresh hop harvest beers having a chlorophyll note, and maybe that's the flavor that I'm getting and interpreting as that pithy, almost green vegetable flavor, but it's still very citrusy. Like, so it's a really good beer. If you have access to it, get it while it's available. Both of these beers, since they are fresh hopped or wet hopped, like Sawtooth, I know only made one big batch, and when it's gone, it's gone. So get out there and enjoy it. Which brings me to no friends on a fresh hop day. I didn't help brew this beer, but I spent a day and a half weighing fresh hops, and it's all fresh hop mosaic. They usually also try to dry hop with the fresh hops, but they did not this year. It's all of the hops went into the kettle, and it was all mosaic. And like scooping out of we got big 50-pound bags of the fresh hops. They've been in the oast house just enough to knock the moisture off the outside of them, because it was like a 2.5-3 hour drive from the farm back to the brewery. And so they basically just ran them enough to get them kind of dry, just so that, or get the outsides of them dry. They were still very moist and very fresh hoppy, from what I remember from having hop plants in my yard. But I spent all day basically scooping out of these bags up to my elbows. Like when I got home, I could feel the lupulin on my arms. And when I walked into the house, my son didn't realize that the smell of the mosaic was coming from me. He had his bedroom window open, and he said he thought the neighbor was smoking weed. So if you like those kind of beers, you should check this one out. But so you can actually see a color difference between the two a little bit. Maybe that's just the shape of the glass. They are super close. I think the No Friends is just slightly more light gold. It's slightly hazy, but it's closer to the color of a Pilsner rather than the Field to Ferment is more the color of a pale ale. So there might be a little more crystal malt or something in that, but oh yeah, that. This is probably my favorite fresh hop beer that I've had ever. But I think the unfortunate thing is there aren't any flavors that are totally unexpected, and that might be just because there's so much hop flavor. But like, this tastes like just a really solid beer, which I attribute to it just being made with a lot of fresh hops, and so it compensated for that that unknowable factor with when you're using fresh hops. And so it tastes more like either just wholly for almost a beer that used pellet hops instead. But like all of the things that I like about Mosaic are here. There's just nice mellow bitterness. Got some of that dank like the aroma of overripe citrus, like not to the point where the citrus is going bad, but where it's like the sweetness is actually starting to come down a little bit. It's got a little more bite. Oh, apparently this is getting warm enough that the flavor's different from when I've drunk it before, but I'm getting a little bit of that vegetal note in the finish that I got up front in the Field to Ferment. Like that same pithy, not quite celery character, but it's in the finish. And I think that was hiding there because like I probably just haven't let it sit long enough and then really focused on the flavors in it. But you know, that's really interesting. New tasting notes. But yeah, like it really good dank, little bit of citrus. There's that pithy note. There's almost like a melon character as the flavors start to fade into, I would say that this is actually more of, like I said, this one tasted like white bread that was not quite toasted, and I would say this is like that really light golden brown toast malt flavor. Yeah, these are both really solid beers. And like, if you like beer and you've never had fresh hop or harvest beers or like whatever the different breweries call them, get out there and try them, because they're unique. They're very different from your average beers that the breweries make year round, and you only get them once, and pumpkin spice anything. So cheers.